is Moments of Truth, the webcast with and for customer success professionals. I'm Andrew Marks, co-founder of Success Hacker, and today I'm joined by Yanira Sesniak, Vice President of Customer Success at Ingenious.io, an integrated cloud-based platform to help manage ACO, that's architecture, engineering, construction, and owners of buildings and infrastructure. Yanira, welcome to the program, and thanks for making time for me today. Why don't you tell our listeners and viewers a bit more about yourself and your responsibilities at Ingenious.io?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Andrew. I'm at Ingenious.io to do what I've been doing for the past decade, which is building and scaling customer success organizations. The beautiful part of working at a startup is we really are starting from the ground up. So I have the opportunity to scale this small team and double in size over the course of 2021, all while figuring out the absolute best way to serve our players in the construction industry.
Excellent. Thanks for the overview.
Absolutely.
So when we got together this morning, and once again, Happy New Year to you
Thank
and
you.
yours, we were starting to talk about the importance of follow through, how important it is to follow through and follow up. This isn't just something that's, I mean, it's your personal life and your business life. So I thought we'd keep that conversation going, because I think that's it really is an important piece of the puzzle when it comes to customer success.
Absolutely. And a lot of times when people talk to me about follow up, they're talking about how we take care of our customers. There's another element that I want to touch on today, Andrew, which is just following through with your leaders, with your peers, with people on your team. I think with everything going on, it's more imperative than ever that we leave space in our day as CS leaders to follow through as well as follow up.
Yeah, leave space in the. It's so important. It is. I even if you got to carve that out, leaving that, allocating that time prescriptively for yourself. That's how important it is.
Yes, because with everything happening, I mean, what is today? January 8th. A lot has gone on this week. And the one thing that can't give is time that's set aside to spend with your team. I leave the first 30 minutes of my day, that's 8 to 8:30, and the last 4:35 simply to ensure I've had at least 1 hour a day, Andrew, to make sure I've responded to my leaders' questions, to make sure any issues have been resolved with my team. And that's outside of a check-in or a one-on-one. This is simply to, have I addressed what's going on this week?
Now, what happens in the case of you get a urgent customer call and you have to take it at that time? What do you do with that time block?
I figure out a different way to manage it. So that might be, for example, today, it's getting pretty busy after meeting with you. So
Yeah.
instead of listening to a full hour of a conversation that one of my team members is having with the customer, that's now down to half. And so something's got to give. I'm not a robot. And so I see what is a lesser priority. It's still important, but it's not urgent. So can I afford to listen to 30 minutes instead of a 60-minute call?
Right. And that's but that's how important that time is that even if I've got to move it, I don't just replace it with the other thing that I'm doing. I move it to somewhere else, or I get creative, like you did in that situation.
Absolutely. You'd see on my desk, I actually have a checklist, and it's something that I eventually want to get through and not just live on my desk and collect dust. And I have to be intentional about my time to do that. I work with a lot of really creative geniuses in the SaaS space, in the tech space. The one thing I've seen them not do well, which is neither right nor wrong, it's just different, is follow through. Amazing ideas, amazing projects get started. But I'm a great balance to organizations because I take the time, as we just talked about, to make sure we're moving these projects forward to finality, to make sure that we actually decide if this is something we want to pursue and pivot or just shut down.
Oh, it's like that old adage. You can have a great idea, a great plan, but if you can't execute, if you can't follow through on it, if you can't achieve the milestones that you need to achieve in order to succeed at that particular project, then it's all for naught. It's you can have a mediocre plan and great execution and still be successful. You could have a great plan and no execution and you'll fail.
Yes. And so many of the people you and I talk to every day in CS land, amazing at following up with customers. It's part of our daily responsibilities, right? Here's how we connected on the call. Here are the next action item dates. I'll see you in 1 week, Andrew. What I am saying is our community has the opportunity to do the same internally with their teams and their leaders.
Yep.
And that's what's given me the success I have on my journey, which started out as a high school English teacher to IC to manager to now senior leader. When people ask me how I made that journey, it was equal attention to following up with customers and following through with the people around me in my building.
No, it's incredible advice. It really is. Now, I want to talk about that path you took, by the way, because I am. We were just talking about this, as a matter of fact, last week. Uh, I'm seeing more and more teachers, people with teaching backgrounds, getting into customer success. I think and from my experience of working with those types of folks and coaching and training those types of people, can understand why.
Yeah. I will always be a teacher at heart. And I love nothing more than meeting a fellow teacher who says, how did you do it? And the only thing my fellow teachers miss is confidence. When you are a teacher, you are not given praise. You are not given promotions. You are doing it out of love for what you do. Right. And so when someone reaches out to me and says, can I do it? I always answer yes. And the reason why is as a teacher, think about this, Andrew, we have 160 plus students given any year, and we work backwards. By the end of the year, I'm responsible for teaching 167 students a curriculum broken down into 4 quarters. I work backwards and I use organization, presentation, and communication skills. And all of that underlies care. I actually want these kids to win,
Right?
right? So when I meet teachers, I'm like, you have had a book of business every year and a pretty darn big one, right?
Yeah.
It is no different. You are still responsible for nurturing a relationship, teaching them something they haven't learned before, and not just giving them info, but allowing them to become self sustaining. You are a teacher in a CS role. And I get very excited talking about this.
I love it. You very much are. You are a teacher. You are somebody who's helping your customer achieve what they're trying to achieve, and you're teaching them and you're guiding them and you're helping them manage that change, just like a teacher does. Right? We started here with your knowledge, and now we're going to end up here with your knowledge, and there's this path that we're going to take, and I'm going to be your Sherpa. I'm going
Yeah.
to guide you through that. And and that's why it's such a great fit. And I've seen some, like I said, I've seen and met some former teachers that are just really great at customer success.
I have as well. I've had I've had probably 4 or 5 in the past several years that I've worked with over the past couple companies. And I will say this, the biggest difference if you're coming from something like an educational background is you have to have that growth mindset and expect to create change and new content over the course of the year.
Yeah.
You're not going to be teaching Romeo and Juliet every year. Your product will have updates, your product will have release notes. So, are you also willing to keep learning? I think a lot of us get happy and content with the same information. That's not the CS job.
No, not at all. When you have to keep learning, especially on the customer side of the equation. Your
Yes.
customers are not all a bunch of the same thing. Every one of them is different. Whether they are or they aren't, they think so, and that's what makes them unique. And you, as a customer success manager, need to be willing to learn about
Yes.
all of
Yeah, so there's no settling down and just getting your pension at the end of your tenure.
that.
It's are you willing to keep having the dust move and deal with the ambiguity of an ever-changing product? That is what is a general challenge for people, but I would say more so for teachers who can get comfy in their curriculum.
Well, yeah, we need to get those teachers. We need teachers, and the last thing that I would advocate for is to put more undue stress on an already stressed system, because our education system is incredibly fractured right now. But Being that as it may, if we can get them out before they reach that trough of cynicism, right, and then end up trying to coast into retirement, then you got potential there.
Yeah, we have a great opportunity as a CS community. I'm actually hiring right now for CSMs, and I'm looking for people who are excited to keep learning, to keep growing, and have that educator's mindset, even if they don't have an educational background. How do you walk somebody through change? And how do you walk yourself through change? And one of the key things, again, the key ingredients to success is, are you able to follow through? You had so many ideas this week, Andrew. Are you going to circle back and take the ownership and the proactive communication to follow with me as your leader and what you said you would do? Or am I pinging you? Because no one has time to ping each other right now. There's a lot of ownership needed to get the hard work done.
Yeah, and that's a great way to circle that back. I appreciate that. That's another thing. We could go down this a different path here and talk about. Um, and I know you're growing your CS team right now, so it's going to be interesting for you and everybody else that's growing your team in this current environment, right? People say, "Oh, things are going to go back to normal." I don't. I think there's going to be a new normal, right? And there's going to and while we were trending this way of having these virtual interactions with folks, I think this is pretty much here to stay. How do you see what happens over the next year, 2 years? How do you see that affecting the way in which uh, we're going to be delivering success to our customers?
There won't be on sites for a while here, and we're missing an opportunity to do what we do best, which is make connections. So we are still figuring out the best way to make these real trusted advisor connections over Zoom or over a phone call. And if you're like me, you work at an all remote company, and I have yet to meet my team. I have not shaken my leaders' hands yet because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
So there's a challenge there, right?
Yeah.
It's not normal. The new normal is, how do I work somebody and build trust quickly, even though I've never met you in person? And so I'm doing that with my team, and I'm doing that with our customers. And what I have found is, again, I'm just going to say it, following through. I have a job application process. And if you get past the first couple of steps, one of them is to send in a video. And I'm curious how long it takes them to submit it. And I'm curious how much effort they put behind it with little guidance. And that's very telling when somebody turns in a video with a hoodie, less than a minute long, answering questions in kind of an order, versus the person that had a quick turnaround, was succinct in their presentation, and you could tell the efforts there. That's what gets me excited, when no matter how small the ask, the effort and the clarity are there in response.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I get that. Um, yeah, somebody with a hoodie that gives a minute response is going for the circular file, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, the on sites are going to be a few and far between, I think, for a number of years. I really do, and I'm it's and while I think a lot of people were particularly hit hard by that because that's not what they were used to.
Hmm.
I had a different experience over the last 9 months, because we've been working remotely for as a company for more than 6 years now.
Yeah.
And what I looked and what I did is I kind of binged the personal interactions, right? I'd binge 3 days at Pulse, I'd binge 3 days at CS 100,
Yes.
right? And I'd get like all of it. I'd get like these all of these interpersonal interactions in one sitting a couple of times a year. And then when those went away, it became really, I kind of went into a funk a bit last year, in the fourth quarter. It just weighed on me. And what's interesting is that I would tell people at the end of every coaching call, say, make sure you're making time for yourself every day, right? And so So I 100% agree with you on the follow through and the follow up. I think those are golden words and really important at a personal level, at a professional level, but also make sure you're following through with yourself.
Oh my
You know?
gosh. Yes, that is how I got through 2020, right?
Yeah.
And people who are still struggling, it's in the absence of putting on your oxygen mask first so you can take care of others, especially as a leader. Um, I could not agree with you more and emphasize this more that the only reason I am doing well right now is because I also end work when I say I will and not hop back on the middle of the night. Like I told you, I am watching Bridgerton instead.
Yes.
And everyone needs that break. And as a leader, I've always done this, but more so than ever, I am asking my teammates to take time off, because they will burn out. They will burn out mentally. They will burn out with the rigor of how many customers we're bringing on. I take that additional mental effort to say, when's your next day off? I got a guy going to Puerto Rico on the 14th and 15th, and I couldn't be more excited for him because he's going to come back on fire.
That's great. Yes. Take care of yourself. Take care of your people. You know, it's a very much a Richard Branson philosophy. I'm a big fan of Sir Richard Branson and his philosophy that your customers are number two, your employees are number one, right?
Mhm.
Because the better you take care of your employees, the better they're going to take care of your customers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I often say like care for the people and the business. A
Yes.
lot of times people look at me and assume, oh, your title says you care about the business more. I have carried through my care for my people from day one. And that's not going away at all anytime soon. I want to make sure that people understand that if our team's stressed out, if our team needs a moment after the events of that week, we need to give it to them. And in fact, I encourage it because that's how they're going to show up for our customers.
Excellent. Excellent. Janita, hey, thank you. It's great. Great conversation. Love that passion you have. Love the follow through. Love that just everything. Your excitement for customer success is intoxicating, and it was great having you on the program. And hopefully, we'll have you again sometime soon, as well as hopefully you can take part in my new customer success leadership roundtable webinar series as well.
It would be my pleasure. And thank you for having me, Andrew.